Hello, I'm Becky. These are Inglorious reviews, and tonight we are looking at Arrow 318, Public Enemies. And I'm still recovering from a cold. It was an episode. I don't know. I said this in last week's episode. It's just really hard for me now to go to like a fun, exciting, happy, relatively happy show like Arrow or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I watched this weekend after falling into a Netflix black hole, and then turn around and come back to this angst fest. I don't know. I guess I'm just not as enjoying the show as much as I used to. Season 3 just hasn't really been quite up to par as opposed to Season 2. And I think they realized that, and so they're trying to catch up, but I don't know. Let's talk about the big things this episode. Last week we ended on a cliffhanger where we thought Maceo might shoot Felicity, and instead he shoots Ray Palmer. Ray winds up in the hospital, at risk for brain damage or dying, because of a blood clot. And so Felicity, injects him with some nanobots that shrink the blood clot. And one of the Atom's powers is that he can shrink himself down to the size of an atom. And as Mickey's pointed out before, that hasn't happened yet. So this episode might be the origin of that ability. They didn't indicate that at the episode, but that might be coming in the future. And Ray tells Felicity that he loves her, and Felicity gets upset because she can't say it back. And this bugs me. This really bugs me. There's this really irritating trope in TV shows where if someone can't say I love you at the same time that the other person in the relationship does, and that means the person doesn't really have feelings for that person and that they should break up and go be with someone else. And it's really annoying. It's really annoying trope, especially here, because Ray and Felicity, they've only really been dating for a month and a half, and Ray has obviously been into Felicity for way longer than she was into him. So I think it's really unfair and unrealistic for them to say, well, since Felicity doesn't love Ray, then right now at this second, then that means that she will never love him or develop feelings for him, despite the fact that she does have feelings for him and care for him, and that their relationship is still really new, and that she's still reeling from having these huge emotions for this other guy. It's just really irritating, and for some reason, they spent all this time last episode building up Felicity and Ray's relationship, and now this episode they're just done with it. I mean, did they realize that did they have some sort of certain end game for the end of the season where Oliver and Felicity get together and they realized that they had to get Ray and Felicity apart again to make that happen? We're only 5 episodes away from the end of the season, so I don't know. I mean, not that I like Felicity. I like Oliver and Felicity together, in theory. But Oliver does not deserve Felicity at this point in time. He has said no and pushed her away way too much. He has not done the work to get her back. He has not done the work to deserve her, I'd say, in regards to their relationship at all. Felicity just waited, she made her feelings very clear, and she waited and waited, and every time Oliver had a chance, he did not take it. And so she went off with Ray, and I think that's, Oliver deserves that, to see that, and I think Felicity deserves to be in a nice relationship with someone who will actually want to be with her. Not that I'm a huge fan of Ray. I've always thought he was a bit of an inappropriate creeper, so really he doesn't deserve Felicity either, but Felicity deserves a nice, healthy relationship with someone who is willing to take the time and pursue her, because she deserves to be pursued. Because, she's a great character, and she has a great heart and capacity to love someone, which is what, and care for someone, which is what's so great about her character. But, you know, Oliver just does not, like, Oliver cares for her, and he'll, like, protect her no matter what, but he's not willing to open himself up to her, and that's what she deserves. So I just really do not like this last second rewriting, or like, to, you know, force them apart. So basically, yeah, so she can get back to Oliver, which is exactly what the whole reason they're doing it. So it really annoys me. You know, they've only been together for like a month and a half. Like, Felicity should not be, like, worried about not being able to tell Ray that she loves him yet. I mean, it's just not realistic. And it's annoying. So, well, that happened, and Felicity's mom showed up again. She, you know, where you can see where Felicity got her penchant for talking inappropriate remarks. Yeah, so that was, I don't see why she was necessary, but it's nice to have, well, I guess with everyone off on, you know, dealing with the Arrow stuff, Felicity needed someone to be supporting her through with what she was going through, so I guess it was nice to have her mom there. So it worked, and Ray's gonna get better. I don't understand, though, like, okay, so the Arrow I missed a few minutes, the first couple of minutes of the episode, but, so, when I saw the Arrow go through, it went right to, like, his heart. Like, I don't understand how, like, it was, like, dead in the center of his chest. So I don't understand how that didn't just kill him right there. I don't understand how he was, like, so okay with just, like, a blood clot problem. I mean, blood clot was life-threatening, but still, that was weird. Yeah. So, Captain Lance had, you know, he's out going after the Arrow, opening a manhunt again for the Arrow. And Ra's al Ghul, who's behind the scenes pulling all the strings, brings all Captain Lance to his little lair that he's set up in Starling City, and tells him that Oliver Queen was the Arrow, because, you know, to spur them on to arresting Oliver, so we'll have some kind, you know, so Oliver will join the League out of desperation to keep from getting arrested. So, you know, I always assumed that Lance did know that Oliver was the Arrow, like, in the back of his mind, but he just did not, like, consciously let himself acknowledge it consciously, because then he'd have to do something about it. And back when he was, you know, allying himself with the Arrow, that would have been you know, that would have mad, because he would have had to do something about it. Yeah, so I was kind of surprised he never said. I mean, like, the look on his face when he found out, he wasn't shocked. It was like, you know, I guess, like, he always suspected it or whatever. But I'm surprised that really Ra's al Ghul had to tell him. I guess maybe that just jolted it from his subconscious, you know, this fact that he really always knew. I don't know. So using that information, he goes and tries to arrest Oliver. And this really bugged me too. Like, what, you know, like, they kept saying that Oliver was exonerated, you know, was charged with that and exonerated, you know, 2 years ago. You know, back when he used Diggle to, you know, be a decoy for him. So I just don't understand, like, why now, like, that Lance should be able to arrest him for it. Like, the only evidence that Lance has is that Ra's al Ghul told him. And, like, how would that hold up in court? Like, you can't go on the stand and say, well, and how did you find out that Oliver Queen was the Arrow? A secret ninja lord told me about it. Like, I mean, Ra's al Ghul isn't going to take this stand and tell him, so I don't understand how, like, you know, the word of Ra's al Ghul is enough evidence for a warrant. You know, especially because Oliver's already been through this, so I I just really didn't understand that at all. So that annoyed me too. So, I mean, last time he was accused, he was accused of being the Arrow. Their mansion got attacked, and a bunch of people almost got killed by people looking for the Arrow. And Lance had to eat a lot of crow because, he was proved to be wrong. So I'm really surprised, really surprised that a judge would, accept that warrant from Lance, especially when, the only evidence is that Rachel told him. So, I don't know. It was weird. What else happened? So Oliver decides that at this point the only move is to turn himself in and tell the truth. Which, I don't know. I don't care. It was, I guess it really technically was the only move at this point, aside from flee the city or join Ra's al Ghul. So that's what he decided to do. And Roy, again with the Give Roy Something to Do campaign, Roy decides that for the sake of all Oliver's done for him, he is going to turn him, come up, stop the police who are, I guess they were transferring Oliver to Iron Heist or something, I don't know, to stop the transfer in its tracks, show up in front of a bunch of policemen in the Arrow costume, and, tell people that and turn himself in saying he's the Arrow, to sacrifice himself for Oliver. Yeah. Nah. I don't know. Yeah. Roy. I'm just so worn out from this cold, from coughing up a lung and blowing my nose 20 times an hour. Ugh. But, yeah. Roy, I don't know. I don't care very much about Roy. I mean, I think it's, I started thinking it was funny after a little while that he constantly had either nothing to do or was getting beaten up in fights when they did give him something to do. But, this is interesting, I guess. Maybe they'll kill him off. Maybe, this is his, heroic self-sacrifice for Oliver will get him killed off. Maybe he's going to be the person that dies. Because, they were talking about all the people that might, get killed off. Because there's supposed to be this big death at the end of the season. And I cannot see it being Felicity. Maybe John Diggle, but why? Maybe John Diggle at this point, but why? He's way more integral to the team outside of, than, he does much more than Roy. He has a much bigger part than Roy, really. So, I kind of wonder if maybe this is leading up to Roy dying at the end of the season. That would, hugely, that'd be getting rid of a character that's just kind of hangs around and doesn't do much, and it'd give Oliver so much angst to lose his protege that he barely spends any one-on-one time with. Really, Oliver talks way more to Diggle and to Laurel and to Felicity than he does to Roy. Roy's only around during group scenes. He never has any one-on-one time with Oliver. When you think about it. And the last time I remember, those two having any, significant moments together was when, that episode way back in the beginning of the season where they found out where they thought Roy had killed Sarah. But those two have, no one-on-one, relationship moments. Diggle and Oliver are always talking together, and, Laurel and Oliver, they're not always talking, but they have, character stuff between them over Sarah and Nisa and Malcolm. And, Diggle and him are always, running around, and Felicity and him are always having moments because, they're the big OTP of the show. But Roy doesn't really have much to do with Oliver. Not really. They go off, he goes off because he's the sidekick and he's there in the group planning scenes, but, there are no character things between the two. Not really. Not in a long time. Nothing really significant. Maybe in, this upcoming episode will be Roy-centric. But when you look over the season as a whole, there hasn't been much. So maybe this is paving the way for Roy to be the big death at the end of the season. So, we'll see. Yeah. So, what else happened in this episode? Ray and Oliver getting arrested, and Roy giving himself up. Felicity and Ray did their stupid relationship thing that I think is stupid. Laurel and Lisa are still hanging out. Lisa gets called on to come in and help. She's like, oh, I'm pissed at my dad for giving away my job, my future job, but I'm not gonna, go up against the league over it, because I'd be taking it too far. So she does help the Arrow team find where the league is, but she doesn't, fight them herself, but fight with them against the league herself. I'm wondering if that's gonna be, like, a decision she has to make, but, by the end of the season, like, should I stand with the Arrow team, or should I, maybe do what's right, and instead of going up against the league, or go up against the league, or stand with them, my father. So I wonder if that's what be, because she's sticking around and she's developing a relationship with Laurel, so maybe her loyalties and her priorities will be tested. That'd be pretty cool. And Laurel and Lance, they have a bit of a moment that, when he's going after the Arrow team, he confronts Laurel, and he, like, threatens to arrest her, and, Nisa, comes in, beats him up a little bit, and she goes with him, and he's like, don't do this, what are you thinking? You can just tell, he's being a jerk, but you can just tell, like, he's just heartbroken that she is standing with the Arrow team and not with him. And, she is heartbroken that she feels like she has to go against him. But she doesn't really see any other choice because, she's thrown her lot in with the Arrow team and she believes what they're doing, and she believes in Oliver. And her father has, pushed her away. Not that, what she's going through is, made her angry at him and made her want to, like, get revenge or whatever, but just upset her a lot, and, like, she feels like she's, stuck on one side because her father's drawn these battle lines that she wished wasn't here, but, there's, as long as he's on this side, there's really not much, and he won't see, partially because of his anger about everyone keeping Sarah's death from him. She just doesn't really have a choice, so it's all just a very heartbroken scene with all these people who just, when you think about it, like, when Lance is talking to Oliver in that scene, he's like, you're not a hero, you're a villain, and I bet you know that, and, he said, and Oliver's talking about how I came back to help the members of the city. He's like, well, you didn't, but, what about Tommy and your mom? Which, that was a low blow, by the way, that was not cool. And, just listen to all these people who've died. And I'm just looking at this whole scene, and it's like, he never explains, like, well, I found out about the earthquake machine, or blah, blah, blah. That started all of this. He never tells us, well, I guess he really can't, because that would be like a confession, which could be used in court, so, that's understandable. But at the same time, like, I was thinking about all this, and I was like, well, all of these people, Lance and Oliver, the Arrow team, and Ray, and Ra's al Ghul even, all these people standing up against each other, doing all these, they're all just running around like chickens with their head cut off, just trying to do the best they can. Every person here thinks they're doing the right thing. They think that their actions are helping people. And everyone, there's no wrong. Well, Ra's is wrong because he's killing innocent people to try to force Oliver to take his place. That's wrong. But, like, for the most part, all these characters, they're just trying to do the right thing. Whatever way they can. However skewed view, or whatever, mistakes they may be making, they're all just trying to protect people and do what's right. Which is very interesting. You can't really take sides about, like, I can't take sides against Lance because, you know, season 1, Oliver was pretty much a serial killer. Like, no, like, there's no statute of limitations, there's no, like, him saving the city from, you know, Slade. I don't think entirely makes up for the huge body count. And I don't think Lance does either. Like, you cannot just forget all these 26, because they said in one episode that there were 26 bodies in the morgue that Oliver put there back in season 1. You know, 26 plus people that are dead because of Oliver. That he went around season 1 deciding that he was the judge, jury, and executioner of Starling City, of the Starling City wealthy people, and you know, you can't quite forget that. And you know, at the same time, Oliver cannot forget, like, about people like Slade and people like Malcolm and other, you know, people like Count Vertigo, who would still be wreaking havoc and killing people if Oliver had not stepped up. And the entire Arrow team too. So, like, you can't really say who's right and who's wrong here, you know, in their view. And it's very interesting. Very interesting character and plot dynamics going on with that. Well, I never really bothered with a grading system before, but let's see. Maybe I'd B-, B+, I don't know. I was a little underwhelmed. I don't think I've ever enjoyed an episode quite as much as I did during the completion of the Glades trilogy. You know, when when there was a fight between the Glade citizens and the mob people, and Oliver came back from, you know, his injury. That was a great episode. I enjoyed that episode, but I never like, you know, watched an episode that I've like just enjoyed like I have that one. It's just not as enjoyable as it was. So I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. Maybe, you know, once all the pieces are really starting to have really gotten into place, you know, these the last few episodes of this season, you know, the last few episodes always really take off. Maybe it'll get a little bit better, but no, I don't know. C+, B-, something like that. Well, I guess this is a bit of a shorter episode than usual. Alright, well, comment, subscribe, tell me what you think, tell me what, you know, you liked, what you disagreed with, and then just hear your ideas. I hope you enjoyed my review, and I will see you next week. Bye.